Kicking things off is the legendary Knight HERMOS, a personification of legendary dragon Hermos, used only in a single duel against darts as part of Yami BSing his way out of Ge with the power of Vsauce. Same joke too many times? Getting a little old and repetitive? It's a good joke. Both versions need Legend of Heart, as well as their respective dragon spell to summon, but what both versions do is different. The version in real life has an effect to banish a face-up spell or trap, and it takes on the name and effects of a monster in the graveyard when attacked. As for the anime version, this one's a real treat. He has attack redirection powers, can use the banish one monster from graveyard effect whenever as a quick effect, and can even banish 3 monsters from your own deck in order to buff itself by those monsters' combined stats for the turn. Needless to say, banishing from the deck is already a powerful effect, as shown by Mimikat on the last list in this style, and buffing your monster to over 10,000 points of attack is never really a bad thing. Sadly, it's only number 10 because of needing Legend of Heart and how, in general, Critias is the best of the 3 legendary dragons to use given what it makes in the fusion category. Just see the best fusions list for that, although, now that I think about it, one of Critias' fusions made it on the worst list as well. They can't all be winners. In any case, Hermos is a wonderful card that fulfills most any purpose you would want a monster with a big level and a summoning condition to do, and at the very least, it's better than the real-life one that saw no play whatsoever. Never thought I'd see the day this archetype would be featured. Okay, so you guys remember Mech Lords? The jumping the shark moment for 5Ds where synchros were so strong they decided to make an entire archetype based around eating them and gaining their stats? Not to mention the fact that, unlike real life, the Mech Lord Emperors themselves took up 5 monster slots and had parts that could be upgraded for like a 300 attack boost and some completely irrelevant effect. Yeah, we may want to forget that, but we cannot deny that the anime gave us some actually powerful support cards compared to the real-life trading card game. One of those is Boon of the Mech Lord Emperors. Boon is a bad card in the real game, mainly due to the Draw 2 effect, only happening when exactly 2 Mech Lords are on the entire field, and making you lose your battle phase in the process. However, the anime version says screw that noise and lets itself be a great draw spell. For you see, Boon in the anime lets you draw 1 card for each Mech Lord you control, period. A max of 5 draws in a spell lets this card shine through in a horrid archetype, to say the least. It's also even better than you think when applied to the real-life card game. Sure, you can't just draw 5 off of a single monster pop, busting out 5 cards from your deck to the field, but cards like Mech Lord Army of Skeel can float into a Mech Lord on destruction, and you can react to your own monsters being popped by busting out the Big Daddy version. The deck has the tools to be at least playable, but this card brings them to some class immediately below Rogue or just above meme level. I haven't exactly decided where. Yes, the deck is terrible, as is, but the power of drawing a ridiculous amount of cards from your deck can never really be understated. Moving right along to more bosses, it's the main boss to Bronx Stone, Son Goku, Professor Viper! It's Venomenaga, the deity of poisonous snakes. Venomenaga is already known IRL as the first Towers level protection monster, with a hard-to-implement summon condition. And yet, its alt-win is held back by the need of hyper-venom counters to function. However, in the anime, this snake bite is more deadly than ever before. For you see, by using the toxins deep inside, the alt-win condition can be reached in just 1 attack. This means that anime Venomenaga retains its protection and attack stats and all. The main change is that all she needs to do is deal battle damage once. At the end phase of your 3rd turn after dealing that damage, you win the duel. It's more like putting counters on your opponent, inherently, than on the card itself, which is a huge plus and makes the alternative win condition much easier to pull off in a real game. It reminds me of the exact same system in Magic the Gathering, which brings up a design issue, or maybe just a design idea, with counters in general we may see in the coming years. Hear me out on this one. Magic has a keyword called Proliferate, where at the end of your turn, if you have a card with Proliferate, you add 1 counter onto everything that already has a counter, and they keep counters of the same type. For example, if your opponent has a Breaker the Magical Warrior on the field with a spell counter, and you're playing aliens and you put an A counter on it, Proliferate would make it have 2 spell counters and 2 A counters, for example. I only bring this up because cards like Venomenaga make this something that just can't be in Yu-Gi-Oh! Well, yeah, and Daimyons exist too, sure. But this is the meme dream we're talking about here. This has no bearing on why this is on the list or its placement thereof, but I figured it was a fun idea to mention. In short, my girl Snake Queen over here has a massive threat in the anime, putting your opponent on a timer that they can't do anything about, as even Counter Cleaner won't get rid of counters on a player. This guy was shown in the top 10 boss monsters, and retains being such an improvement over its real-life form. Only so low because yes, I have spoken about him before, and basically what I'll say here is the same you've ever seen. Sapphilon, the ultimate Time Lord, needs to be special summoned with infinite lights in the anime, being the like triple infinity thing. But don't be disillusioned from the glory of power, especially since plain old normal summoning works entirely fine. Where the real-life version can only do one summon of a fairy from the graveyard with the effects negated and making the attack 4000, anime Sapphilon, the ultimate Time Lord, can flood the board in Time Lords from anywhere, with their effects kept intact, and they have 4000 attack, and then Sapphilon will gain the attack of all other Time Lords on the field. He is a 20,000 attack brute, with massive power that can sacrifice his Time Lords when he would die as if he were Doctor Who. Sure, you can't put it in Shaddolls for the sake of bringing out a construct from grave like the true Duelist Alliance player that you are, but now, real-life Time Lords become the dumbest deck ever theorized. Ever known the pain of the Psy-Frame mirror match? How about the Time Lord mirror match, where Sapphilon makes the entire match based around whoever summons him first, because that player immediately wins. Fun game! Number 6 is a monster hindered in real life by an added condition fulfilled by one monster that goes with his general theme but is much better in the anime. That would be the 4000 attack monster, Soul Drain Dragon. If you're confused as to, well, I've never seen this card before, if you've ever opened Shadow Specters, it's a common. The real-life version has so many restrictions upon it that I legit had to sit down with this card the first time I saw it just to think of literally any card in the game that can do anything with him. It's Dragulon. Anime Soul Drain has the ability to not need a Dragon Xyz to summon it, thank God. Gains attack and defense based on the opponent's life points, and has the added effect of burning the opponent for its attack on the field if destroyed. Which, you know, kills them outright. You can legit just run Raigeki Break to pop it, and you can burn the opponent for game. Of course, it's held back by a few limits in general, like just kinda being big, but nothing that a Red MD wouldn't fix. This card is an FTK waiting to happen, and Guard Dragons will abuse it, mark my words. Hey look, it's another thing ran by the Chaz It Up. Manga Chaz It Up was definitely one with a funny deck, given his deck was full of various kinds of dragons of different shapes and sizes and power. Really a place you could call diverse, or, you know, cards that Kaiba threw out at some point. One of the various kinds of dragons he ran are somewhat recognizable, except for how they were synchros when they were printed in real life. Light End Dragon and Dark End Dragon are a pair of level 8 dragons in the main deck that have their own potent effects. You see, both versions basically do the same thing as in real life, and yet the main difference that pushes the main deck versions to the spotlight is that not only are their effects quick effects, they're not even once per turn. As such, you can chain multiple uses of Dark End Dragon for himself to lose 500 attack, and then send that many monsters to the graveyard at least 6 times, all in the same turn if needed. The same applies to Light End doing that, but for weakening monster stats by 1500 both ways. It's a weaker effect, no doubt, but this spot is more for Dark End Dragon, and Light End gets a mention for being a counterpart that is also much better in its original form before being tarnished by the real-life trading card game, and I wasn't going to just bring this up in another video. On top of that, they have synergy with Trade-In and Revival of the Dragon Lords, making them a lot less bricky in whatever dragon deck you want to run. As well, you can be an absolute meme lord Chad like the Chaz It Up, and tribute them both like a real man for Light and Darkness Dragon. I mean, I don't know why you would ever want to do this, but if you're playing Guard Dragons, you can just spam them both back anyway pretty easily. Wow, Guard Dragons and Red MD really do break dragons, don't they? Yeah, that's not even a rhetorical question, they objectively do, yes. One card that has definitely left its mark on the game is Burial from a Different Dimension. Being a great spell for bringing home the banished monsters back to the graveyard where they belong, it was always a fun and powerful card to mess around with. Mizuki and this card go on dates every Sunday and have a wonderful relationship going. But, in the anime, it's no different except turned up to 11, for you see, Burial, in the anime version, is able to return all banished monsters to the graveyards, not just 3. Orcus are now taking this card out on a date with Mizuki, as now their relationship is polyamorous and still loving. It would have to be for how many archetypes and cards love to be banished more than once, or just put back in the grave for any reason. Glad Snow isn't still around, or it would be a card worth banning. But, like, even more so. The fact that this card refuses to care about how many cards it puts back would probably make for some ridiculous FTKs with cards that get banished. There's just no way to tell. Yeah, this one right here, officer. Put him back on the list. The next contender is one many Zexal-era hero decks should be familiar with. It's the Circumstantial Draw Engine and combo extender. Give a round for Elemental Hero BUBBLEMAN. This lad has really shown his salt for being a free level 4 for an Xyz monster, primarily Bahamut Shark, the card that refuses to leave this channel or my thoughts and dreams. However, in the anime, what if we just make that draw part less circumstantial and actually able to be pulled off in a real game consistently? For you see, BUBBLEMAN is able to do the draw 2 cards effect even if you have a hand. All it needs is to be summoned while it's the only card on the field. Simple, clean, easy to pull off? Yes, yes, and yes. It's a legit card to just normal summon first play of the turn, because you might as well get a pot of greed with your already solid monster, right? Not much else to say on this Batman-looking hero. He's just the real-life one with a pot of greed. Since hero decks are looking insane with some new Link and Fusion support for Destiny hero cards in particular, this would make for a pretty good inclusion, I would imagine. Our number 2 slot is another famous monster, one reason being Burning Abyss used to tech this massive dino with Astral Force and Grenosaurus. Make way for number 61, VOLCASAURUS. Most people know about this absolute unit. Pop card on the field, burn for its attack, and no attacking directly, and this effect was so good that every deck that could run it, ran it, even if only to burn and go directly into the Piercing Gaia immediately after. However, you may want to keep that dino around with the anime version. Anime Volca can pop multiple times for some ungodly reason, meaning he can be a threat with cards like Gossip Shadow for added materials, and board wiping in general, as well as being able to attack directly and the obvious and obnoxious Numbers Clause. The best part of seeing good cards in real life in the anime is just seeing how it got nerfed to be really good, just not absurdly broken like this one is. Not many cards can hold both of those titles at once, and that's what'll make our final entry shine brighter than any other. And for number 1, do you remember that one subject in school that was never any fun or of any use outside of your class for the most part? That thing I got a perfect score on the SAT for, yet apparently that's not enough for a scholarship to Rice. Ivy League of the South, my ass. Well, our top entry took the powers granted by the, supposedly British, public education system to make his brain bigger than what can be comprehended. Mathematician in the anime is what happens when you simplify text to make sure new players can understand him. On summon, he sends any card from deck to graveyard, not just monsters. This can be run in anything, and it'd be milling anything, in case you need a Metal Foes fusion or something. It's just a strict upgrade, considering it also isn't just normal summons like the real-life Mathematician. On top of all that, if he were to be destroyed under any circumstances, he adds any card from your deck to your hand. Search your comeback cards, a combo extender, a powerful card you can only run one of. Anything you could desire, Mathematician is here. Sure is better than the already solid draw 1 card effect it has in real life, huh? This is one scholarship that is well paid off in the end. Too bad he has to die for all his work to finally be recognized.